The thing, well, I mean, I guess that's totally your call. I'm a patriot, and so it's like why have a child? Why create a family?
Um, so
My firstborn, I'm gonna name Hormuz. This
yeah.
is my son Hormuz Baker.
This is Flip Phone Confessional, where drama flipped harder than my Motorola. I said I'd ollie in a text got left on red. Now I'm scream singing Fallout 4 in my bed. We're spilling secrets from the T9 days, crushing on skaters in able ways. So grab your chain wallet and your blacked out pen. We're dialing back to when life made no sense. Time to confess.
What's up, everybody?
Yo, what up?
My name's Justin,
I am Brandon.
and you are listening to Flip Phone Confessional.
Thanks for being
Again,
here.
we really appreciate all of you. Thank you so much for all the consistent love. And we're doing a new series every time to start off the pad with some good with some good news. Brandon, what's the good news of the day?
The good news for today's pad is,
Pad,
I mean,
yeah,
well,
let's
the thing
go.
that we're talking about today, we've been talking a little bit about, the generations. You're about to be a dad coming up here. We've also been talking about getting older, and something that I found the other day is really, really cool.
Dad again.
there's
Again.
Dead again. You're right. You're right. So
Yes.
sorry. There's an intergenerational learning center in Seattle, Washington, meaning that there
Cool.
is a daycare center that has the elderly and children. So
Interesting.
yeah, so you're getting care for both, but you're also getting care from both, for both. So it's this way for
Interesting.
kids to be exposed to adults, for these adults that are, in these, elderly care centers to be exposed to kids.
I
Yeah,
bet the
and
mental health benefits for the elderly on that are huge.
they're reporting that there's incredible, I mean, like, it's like an award-winning facility, and yeah, the mental
Wow.
health for both is actually really helpful, because it's also exposing kids to to elderly. Like some kids don't have grandparents, right? Or maybe they go to daycare and like it's just adults and kids their age, but to like actually get exposed to these other adults that have all this like love to give and to be around youth in that way, I don't know, I thought was just like an incredible win-win scenario.
Dude, that's really cool. No,
Yeah.
that's awesome. I wonder if they charged the same amount for my daycare. I'm
See,
really
that's what-
curious.
Exactly. So that is the one thing that like I was not able to see how much it's charged. The kids are from ages 3 to 5. Projects
Okay.
are like, there's like music, dance, storytelling, but yeah, that 3 to 5 is like, okay, you're kind of in a perfect zone of
You're
being a sponge
you're
of a
old
kid.
enough, yeah,
Right.
probably potty trained by that point, so you're
Exactly.
less maintenance than like an infant, a newborn, or a toddler. But
Right.
it's still pre-K elementary
Mhm.
school, so still old enough to understand what's going on. So that's really cool.
Yeah. Only diapers are for the elderly. That sort of
Nice. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Diaper changes at the same time,
thing. Exactly.
Speaking of diapers,
Yeah.
um,
Nice.
the I actually have it right now. Do you want to take a stab at what diapers cost per month in the 90s?
Oh, in the 90s. So everything that you're about to say today, I'm going to be ignorant, because you know about this stuff. You're really like in the trenches with this.
It was $30 to $40 a month. As of 2026, you are looking to roughly between $70 to $120 a month just for diapers.
Damn. 30
So-
bucks. That's crazy.
Yeah, no, I was pretty shocked by that. But, for those listening, today's episode, we're just going to talk about, I know a lot of you are parents. Maybe a lot of you are up and coming parents. Maybe you want to be parents. We're just going to discuss about how insane child costs have gone from what we experienced in the 90s and what it is today, and how there's a couple bigger topics on the macro of people having less children in the United States. And I think that makes a lot of sense just from a monetary aspect. I know there's a lot of people out there where there's a movement of, oh, I like my freedom. I like not having to worry about it. I live my life the way I choose. I've always found that a little interesting, just on not only a biological level, but just a mentality as well. Because I think being a parent is the absolute coolest thing you could ever experience as a human being on this planet. But I understand it from a monetary aspect, because some of the data we're going to talk about today is insane. That's been your biggest concern, right? Of having a kid has been the monetary aspect for you and your wife, right?
Yeah, I mean, that is the major, it's just a tangible kind of benchmark.
Yeah.
I think there's other factors of us enjoying our lives, us enjoying traveling, us enjoying being married. I mean, we kind of got married a little bit later than most. I got married when I was 40, 39. Maybe I was 39.
39. Yeah.
Yeah. She's 5 years younger than me, so she was 34, but which yeah, is like older for most of human history. Like when I was like living in LA, that was, I'd say, somewhere close to kind of the mean. And so there's a little bit of like, yeah, let's like enjoy being married for a little bit. Let's enjoy travel still. But we definitely want kids. And yeah, I mean, luckily my wife is, really on top of things financially. And we've had several like meetings that she's kind of like led to say like, oh, here's how much childcare is. Here's how much typical pregnancy is if things do go correct. You know, this isn't including anything random that like happens. Here's what we need to have like kind of per year. Here's what daycare costs, all those things. And you're just like, fuck.
Yeah. There's a lot of it. And I think it's incredible that the shift that we've seen, the paradigm shift of not only, I would say, what inflation on childcare has done to us as a society, right? So not only are people not wanting to have kids because of the cost of kids, but we've also seen a shift into having kids later on in life. I think last year was the first time in history, or at least over a period of recorded time, that people over the age of 35 are actually having more kids than like teenagers or early 20s. And I think a lot of that is due to people want to be financially stable before they have a job. You reach really your stride, I would say, for most people, of being really financially, I don't know if set's the word, but at least a lot more stable later in your 30s, early in your 40s, as like some of your prime earning years. And we've seen that shift as well. But I think it's just, this is having such an impact on millennials, Gen Z, and will on Gen Alpha, of just this soaring inflation that we've seen specifically on childcare. So I'm going to run through some numbers with you, and you can tell me which one is the most standing to you. So in the 90s, it approximately was 81,000 from the 81,000 total to raise a cost of a kid from 0 to 18. That was the average cost of raising them all the way to 18 years old.
And this includes food, education,
everything.
Clothes,
everything. I would assume this is not including private education. So let's say that is like, that'd be an additional cost. Now in 2026, it's estimated to cost between $300,000 to $360,000 for one kid, 0 to 18. That is a 373% increase in cost. When I talked about this on a TikTok, a social media split I've done, where the increase in salary since 2000 has been like 89%. Right. So we're talking like a 3x more than what people are earning.
Right. Home values have done pretty much the same.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. Roughly for daycare, $75 to $100 a week full time. Now it is $300 to $500 per week. Again, this is all area dependent across the United States. Personally, our daycare is about $22,000 to $23,000 a year. So the annual cost is anywhere from $15,000 to $25,000 a year, full time for one kid. So that's a 295% increase since 1990. Again, average income in the United States has not kept up anywhere close to that. Formula is insane. We had to use formula for our son, roughly $50,000 to $7,500 a month. In the 90s, 2026, it's $150 to $200 a month, which means probably once you're done using formula, you're talking about another $2,500.
Right.
In 2022 alone, we saw an 11.5% increase in costs just in that 1 year. Just in that 1 year. I don't know if you remember, probably not because you guys weren't focused on having kids then.
No,
but
there was
a formula shortage. People
Yeah.
were legitimately scared. They were hoarding formula. It was a big deal. We had to like import from Europe. There were some crazy things that we had to do. Luckily, and that was before we had Easton, so we were freaking out. But it's like, holy crap! Like, what are we going to do if this happens? So first year total in the 90s was roughly $5,000 for a child. Now it's about 25 grand.
Damn. That's absolutely crazy. And this is the thing. I don't blame people for holding off. I mean, I find that it's financially responsible to not.
If you can't put food on the table to take care of it.
Totally. I feel like the older generation, especially for Nina and I, right? Like, and we're doing fine financially. It's just we're just trying to be responsible about it. But for my parents, who are grandparents, my brother and sister both have kids. My parents are like, just do it. Everybody from that older generation is like, you'll figure it out. And luckily in mine and Nina's situation, correct, we will figure it out. Now, we live in Colorado. We don't have family here. We don't have grandparents here to help out. We have a great community. We have a ton of friends. It's just different. It's just a different relationship there. So the just figure it out thing, or you'll figure it out, we figured it out. And don't get me wrong, these are things that I tell myself that, hey, every human ever has like had parents that successfully like fucked and kept a kid alive and figured it out. So I definitely believe in myself to do that. However, the variables, just like we just laid out, are different, and you do need to be a little bit more conscientious than they have in the past, at least from my perspective.
You literally took the words out of my mouth. I was going to say our parents are from a generation, and our grandparents are like, have a kid and you'll figure it out. Like, because it wasn't a big concern, because our grandparents could afford a house, a new car, and 2 kids on a single income household.
Yeah.
Now, this is the most telling data, I think, is federal guidelines constitute childcare affordable at 7% of household income, which means a family needs to earn, a household would need to earn over $200,000 a year just for today's average daycare costs to clear that bar. Most people are setting anywhere between 13 or 15% just for that childcare cost. That's one child. 200,000 is one kid. If you had 2 kids, based on the cost of full-time daycare, most likely between $40,000 to $60,000 a year, you have to cross $550,000 just to clear that bar as a household. That is absurd. And so I get mad when I hear like Dave Ramsey just say stupid shit about like, oh, you just need to work harder. You just need to save more.
Yeah, fucking asshole.
Dude, no, like I get you had a great run in the 90s and into the 2000s of helping people save money. You did awesome. You were smart for that period of time. You are a dinosaur if you are just, or an ostrich of putting your head in the sand of not realizing what reality is and what costs are and what a realistic income for, I would say, most Americans are. It is insane.
It's insane.
Like, it aggravates me to no degree of like, you're not in touch with reality. Well, and that's not an excuse. I don't think that's an excuse.
No, it's definitely not. But I mean, I think the thing that we're failing to realize here, just playing devil's advocate, is like, we do need to pay for a war in Iraq, so we can't be worried about daycare costs or cost of living. We don't have to pay for a war in the Middle East.
What pissed me off more than anything yesterday is all those companies, they just declared tariffs of unconstitutional, which means all these companies who have been racking up those prices not only get to capitalize on that spread versus their margins, but they also get all that money back. So guess who doesn't get refunds? We don't. No.
Correct.
The giant corporations already making a shit ton of money not only got to fucking just every consumer over the last year, but they also get all these, like, I guess, essentially like a rebate. They get all these refunds. And it just is like, it's just my disdain for the government has no bounds at this
Well,
point.
The thing, well, I mean, I guess that's totally your call. I'm a patriot, and so, it's like, why have a child? Why create a family?
So
my firstborn, I'm gonna name Hormuz. This is my son, Hormuz Baker.
So what's crazy is that
I
is
hope
like a
he's-
housing
He's straight, by the
adjustment.
way. Go
And
ahead.
that was clever. I like
Thank
that.
you. Thank you.
In the 90s, adding a child meant a modest budget increase for space. An extra bedroom attributed to a child in 2026 is 3,500 to 6,500 more per year, depending on your market, just because of room, right? This could be rent of getting an additional bedroom. It could be just a house and where interest rates are of trying to afford a mortgage there. So it's funny. In the 90s, your parents raised you on one income, a bowl of Frosted Flakes, and a Nintendo 64. In 2026, you need two incomes, a financial advisor, and a therapist. Like, I agree with that line.
Maybe some peptides.
More, yeah, maybe some. Yeah, let's go. I also found it interesting too. Is you touched on this earlier about like not living near your family. I think boomers are probably the most selfish generation when it comes to wanting to watch children. I know a lot of people that their grandparents don't want to help. They're like, "No,
Right.
we're living our life. We're living retirement. We did everything. We screwed over the whole world for you guys, so you figure it out. We're going to go, on a 20-day cruise in the Caribbean, so we're too busy." But I've heard that from multiple people that grandparents actually don't want to be involved in helping with childcare too, and all that does is just put more of a strain financially on some people. Like, it makes sense why so many people are either stay-at-home dad or stay-at-home mom, because financially it makes more sense to keep a parent home because of the cost of rising childcare. It's crazy.
100%. Like, full disclosure, Nina and I, as a household, do not make $500,000 a year. Like,
Shocker.
That'd be yeah, exactly.
Those 1 cent Johnny Tsunami residuals are adding up. Man,
Damn it. Yeah. I mean, maybe we'll. I mean, we're both working our asses off to make
Yeah.
that happen. But yeah, the likelihood of that happening is pretty slim. But I mean, I'm probably going to be a stay-at-home dad because she's balling out. She's bringing home the bacon, and my jobs allow for the flexibility of that, to where
Yeah.
I can kind of work any hours that I want, and I can kind of schedule things around. Because just like you said, if the numbers that you even gave are the average of the country, right? Like in Colorado, they're much higher. So that daycare of would you guys say you guys pay $29,000?
Daycare is roughly around $1,800 a month for
Okay,
us.
so a little
So
bit-
like 22,
less.
22K,
Yeah.
22K about. Yeah.
Right. So times
And
two,
they-
like if we
and
were
they
so
only
lucky to
give
have
you-
two.
And they only give you a discount of 10% on the second child, which of course is more. They charge like $2,100 full time for an infant, but they give you the 10% discount only on the lower cost child. So the 10% would be on the 1,800, not the 2,100 again. So
Right.
like for two kids in daycare, it's probably going to be around $44,000
Right.
a year.
And I mean,
Like-
and we'll see when we get to that point, like whether or not that's actually what happens. My thing is like, okay, if we save $44,000 and also I'm getting to spend more time with our kids, we'll see
Yeah.
how long I say that for. Maybe I'm
Yeah.
like, hey, I'm like losing my fucking shit over here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Such a conundrum.
But it's like, for people, I think a lot of people like me have dreamt since they were kids of having a family. And I think it's just so, dude, I hate this language because I always feel like you just got to work for it. But it's like, I feel it's so unfair for a lot of people that can't just achieve their dream because of how much the cost of things are. Because there is a breaking point. I think the cost of what childcare, healthcare, a lot of these things have gotten to in the United States is absurd. I think there should be
Yeah.
caps. I think there should be limits. Like, I don't think people should be punished because are withheld from their dream because of how absurdly expensive childcare is. in the United States. Like, it's just, it's insane to me.
It's becoming to a point of like, to some extent, having a child is truly a luxury.
A luxury.
When you look at all of the top 20 economies in the world, like global economies. So we'll just throw out America, Japan, Korea, Norway, Scandinavia, things of that nature. Their birth rate has declined to the point where they are not.
Japan's going to go extinct in like 100 years, is what, or like 150 years is what they're saying. If they, not only the migration rate of their people, but also just no one's having kids in Japan.
Right.
Like, it's crazy.
And I think it will balance out. Like, I don't think they're going to actually go extinct. I don't think people are going to fully stop having kids, but we're just reaching this point in our various populations where these countries that are seemingly doing the best, people are making decisions for themselves of like, hey, this is too much money. It requires too much time. Just my enjoyment of life. It's similar to, like putting your own face mask on, oxygen mask on at a plane, where it's like, if I'm a shitty parent, if I'm a stressed out parent, like what kind of like world am I bringing my kids into within my household, let alone the greater world, it's almost existing on this globe.
An ethical question, right?
Correct.
Am I going to be a good parent because of the additional stress that I'm going to be put under as a household? Do I want my child to be raised in an environment where I'm not presently there because I have to work all the time? When I get home, am I going to be able to handle my emotions? Like, is this a cultivating environment to bring a human life into? Which again, this goes back to, I don't believe that's fair. I think I'm not saying we should have free childcare. That's not what I'm saying. But I do believe there should be a limit on how much childcare cost, like daycares can just keep racking their prices. Like every year, we've had Easton in daycare for 3 years. Every year, they keep increasing costs. They keep adding different fees. And it's just like, what? You have at our daycare facility, there's probably like 10 rooms, maybe 12 rooms. Each room has probably 10 to 15 kids. And when I do the math, it's like, man, you're pulling in like 2 to 3 million, maybe 4 million a year in revenue from costs of raising all these kids. And I'm like, are you really paying all that back to your employees? Because I know childcare facility employees don't make a ton, but it's just like, damn, this is insane. I will say probably liability insurance for a daycare must be insane. I'm sure the premiums on that are like 20, 30 grand a month with all those kids there. But again,
couple things real quick. I want to say to what you just said. Otherwise I'm going to forget about them. I think part of that is we're watching how the family unit over time has dissolved, right? So less and less is grandma living with you, or are you all living, like several people in a household, to where there are certain people, whether that's a cousin or an auntie or an older child that's in the household that can help, as a community, take care of that kid. Even going back though, kind of talking about how we have this luxury of childcare now to think about these things. I hear from a lot of times, the boomer generation or older, of like, oh, you guys, worry about all these things and therapy and da-da-da-da. And I know. But we've gotten to the point where we have the ability and the wherewithal to actually think about these things in a conscientious way. We've
evolved past beating our wives to, hey, maybe I should go actually see someone instead of taking my anger out on my family.
Right. Also, we have things like contraceptives now, right? Where like, okay, back in like 1920, whatever, like,
your pullout game needed to be strong, bro.
Well, that was like the best thing that could happen, is like, oh my God, we're just going to we're going to get married. So we're going to bang, and we're Catholics. So we're going to have like 12 of them. Yeah. And like things have evolved to where we can actually really think about, what kind of life, because I know when I actually sit down with my folks and we talk about in terms of like quality of life, they're like, yeah, well, we didn't go out to dinners. We went out to dinner like, our luxury was like fast food, like once or twice a week.
Yep.
We didn't go to the movies all the time. We didn't, and valid point. But as we've grown up and learned more in like the environments that we're raised in, of course we're going to evolve and take into account how we wish the world to be and how we wish the world to be for the kid that we're raising.
Yeah, it's just there's things I really do believe there should be reform on, especially with how much money we send outside the United States every single year. It's like, why can't we help with healthcare costs? Why can't we help with childcare costs? Why can't we set limits on how much these prices can increase? I'm not saying anti-capitalism. Everything's a business. Costs of goods and services go up over time. Like, totally understand that. But to the degree that costs have been going up, I feel maybe there should be a limit of like, you can only adjust prices based on what the increase in the average income in the United States has increased. That seems maybe like a fair compromise. But again, when you have such big pockets of who these pharmacy companies control all the formula that's created. And again, like, it's an unfortunate cycle. I don't know how to break it. When I researched these numbers on how expensive costs are and how expensive costs are becoming, I understand people's decision to not want to have kids purely based on a financial decision.
Yeah. Bravo in the work of these numbers that you put together. Honestly, I rarely give you your kudos here, but no, that's like super legit.
So we'll let's do it. Let's do a this or that. We can have it centered around the conversation. Would you rather have a stay-at-home parent versus both parents working?
I think stay-at-home parent in a perfect world. I mean, and that's just for us specifically. I know Nina would love to just be home with our kids and not be working, and that's what we're honestly working towards. You?
Same.
Yeah.
Same. I don't want strangers to raise our children like that.
Same. Yeah.
I feel so gross of like the American dream is you just repopulated just for the sake of repopulation. Like you have a kid just to not see it and have someone else raise it. Like that in a vacuum, like what world does that make sense? It doesn't. So I'm with you. Like I totally want, I really would love for Rachel to watch our kids, and I'm doing the same thing, working hard to make that a reality. Let's see. Private school versus public school.
Oh, man, I was a public school kid, and I think it helped me out
That
quite
explains
a bit.
a lot. Yeah.
Well, oh yeah, I was an urchin, if you will. What were you, a sky? Yeah, you probably were. You're like blue eyes and your lack of melanin.
I have a lot of melanin in the summer. Just you wait, bro.
No, you had a grandma that made tamales. No, I know the story. It's
R.I.P.
tough
Abuela.
because here's the thing is like I feel like the public schools in Southern California where I was raised are pretty good. The public schools in Colorado really aren't that great, and I don't understand why our state just doesn't want to invest in education. It's crazy.
The charter schools here are really good. We have like one of the best charter schools in the country here in Fort Collins. We have done some really smart things financially as far as 529 and college funds, because we mega funded 529 funds on the front end. So pretty much Easton is set for his college savings already on the front end.
That's awesome, dude.
But now with the new law changes that 529s can be used for private school, like private, like not just college, but actually earlier education. I'm leaning more towards private school. The reason is there is a very rudimentary schedule of learning with private school. There's no like gray area. There's not like their own interpretation. Like this is what you're going to learn. I like that. There's also fewer students to teachers. So you have more one-on-one time than these public school teachers who, no fault of their own, are just overwhelmed. Like they just, they can't handle it. Also private schools have a lot more security. You know, as far as like, it's a gated school, they have more resource officers. Again, we're fortunate where that could be a reality if we choose it, but just based on how much things happen at public schools all the time, like if I have the funds to make sure that nothing puts my kid in danger, I'm probably going to take it. And if that means paying an extra $20,000 to $30,000 a year for private school, as much as that kind of maybe sets us back for retirement, I'm willing to do that to make sure Easton's safe. You know, that's my thought. Last this or that. Books or iPad?
I mean, the elder millennial in me says books.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I think we've seen so much evidence, and I know how addicted I am to screens, but all the evidence is just pointing to, like, if you can just delay this for as long as possible.
Yeah.
And I grew up with books, and I still love books. Whenever I find myself randomly like in a book, I'm like, oh, thank God. You can, like, I can feel it, like my nervous system can feel it.
Yeah.
So I would say that. I imagine that there are like probably a lot of resources though with the iPad for kids to learn though.
Yeah, I mean, you have the benefit of the iPad for endless amounts of information. Like I'm saying this from a lens of, say you put all the restrictions and security parameters on the iPad so they could only access educational material. I'd still probably choose books.
Yeah.
I was so obsessed with encyclopedias, with eyewitness books, with Goosebumps or Wishbone or Zoo Books. I don't see kids dive into books. Again, I'm not around a ton of kids, so this is from a super biased lens. But when I'm looking at social media, all I see are kids watching TV, kids playing video games, kids being on the iPad. Now, I do see the kids being outside, and I love that. Like, I want more of that. But when I look at when kids are inside, I don't see them diving into a book anymore.
Right.
And that's probably at no fault of their own. That's just environment. Like, if your parents are not throwing books immediately in your face, I like we're not getting an iPad for Easton. That's it. No tablet, nothing. The only middle ground is I told Rachel, is like, I want leapfrogs, but only the digital ones that are like the black and green, or like the binary ones where it's just like the pixels. Like, if it doesn't have pixels, we're not gonna own it. But for me, the TV wasn't a bad screen because I'd have the TV on as a kid, even as a kid, as background noise for me to like read and stuff. But yeah, dude, anything with an LED screen, no chance. For as long as we can.
I've seen that the people have been saying that TVs aren't actually a bad screen anymore. Like sitting your kid down to actually watch a movie, right? Not like just in the scrolling on YouTube, but like you're going to sit down, you're going to watch a program. It's going to have a story. It's going to teach you probably something, and you have to like have an attention span in order to do so.
A lot of the research you're talking about too is like 90s shows, because that's what I mainly see, versus stimulating shows today like Coco Melon, Miss Rachel, Paw Patrol. How it's just like the camera, the frame changes every 1 second. There's so much flashing lights. There's such loud music, and then you compare that to, say, like Little Bear or Franklin, right? You have very calm music. The screen follows the character, like pans with it, so it's not like frame, and it teaches a lesson. Now, I'm not saying those other stories don't teach lessons, but the degree in which they're trying to capitalize attention has had like damaging neurological effects, as opposed to these old shows we grew up with of, it doesn't create stimulation, it creates actual thought. It generates an attention span. Again, that shouldn't be replaced with books, but it is interesting when you watch them side by side. It is like mind-blowing to see.
Well, last thing that I'll say, because I know we need to go, is and kind of you touched on it too, of I wish that there were regulations on these things. And look, I'm not saying that I want the government to tell me how to like live my life or anything like that, but there are certain things where where socialist programs, more socialist programs would be helpful, like to have some socialist daycares, or even like to have this, like, you know, where there's like subsidies from the government to kind of help out families with these things. Even as we're talking about like kids shows and things of that nature, there used to be regulations on children's shows where it's like, okay, can we have the frame rate reduced, you know, to help a more like calm, less cracked out child? For me, that doesn't seem to be something that is that much of an impossibility. I mean, we just have to decide that it's important to us and then do it beyond the capitalist dollar.
I think I would hate for subsidies to occur, because every time you have subsidies, you get fraud. If you do it on like a government level, that just seems to be the trend.
But then whatever the solution is, if we want to call it something different, have a different program.
I was going to propose a different idea. Is like if
Okay.
you want to set a law by the government, make it a law that employers have to cover daycare costs or a chunk of daycare costs for it. Where it's like if you are coming here to work
Sure.
for this company, you have to cover X% at a minimum. Now they
Right.
can cover all of it if they want, but just say, hey, you have to cover 50% of the cost of daycare. Like
Right.
imagine if like they forced Amazon or Walmart or any of those
Yeah.
companies to do that. I know some VP. I know a VP at Pepsi where Pepsi pays for their childcare, like that they have covered as part of their incentive, like benefits package.
That's
That's
awesome.
insane. Like I think I'd much rather have it privatized than government subsidized because there's such lack of as we constantly see daily oversight
Oversight,
and
yeah.
regulation on subsidies. So if we're just going to set a law, just make it a law of like, if you're a company and you are hiring someone with kids that are under
Yeah.
a certain age, you are required to cover a portion to whatever degree of childcare. Will that ever happen? No, it's the United States. We don't make fucking good decisions here. But that would, in a dream world, I think that would be a fair compromise. Do I know anything? No, I'm a fucking idiot just with a microphone. But you know, these are thoughts that come to my mind. On that note,
Thank you guys for listening to these fucking idiots with microphones.
maybe we should
Appreciate
change
it.
the name of the pod as fucking idiots with microphones. But we love you. We appreciate you.
Yeah, for real.
If this is a part of your journey, let us know. I'm rooting for everyone. If their dream is to have a family, I'm going to
Dude,
be the
same.
boomer and say the same thing. Fuck it and figure it out later. Like,
Yeah.
I believe in you guys that it can make it work. I don't think it should be this hard, but hey, that's just another middle finger to the previous generations that millennials can overcome anything. So
100%. Yeah. I mean, this podcast, oftentimes we talk about fun stuff. We kind of go back in nostalgia, but we've been trying to update things and talk about things that are a little bit more topical and the things that are a little bit more real to like what we're experiencing. So hopefully you guys are enjoying it. I know we do. It's kind of nice for us to have the conversations that we really want to have on this podcast. So hopefully you guys are enjoying because I know that we are.
love you guys. Till next time.
Don't let the signal fade away. You know I'm just one flip away. We laughed, we cried, we